G'day guys, how's it going? Welcome back to Sam's Home Kitchen, where I bring to you budget-friendly recipes with sustainability in mind. So this week, this recipe is going to be a little bit personal. I want to start introducing something that represents the culture that I grew up in. I grew up in Taiwan. It's an island nation with 24 million people. Given the current situations with China knocking on the door with missiles and military drills, at the moment it's really tense. I personally feel a sense of responsibility to be sharing and showing the world what Taiwan is about, what the culture is about, and hoping that I can bring more awareness to this situation with what China is trying to do, overtaking Taiwan, not reclaiming Taiwan. If you look into the history, Taiwan has never ever been ruled by the Communist Party. Leave a comment down below if you think otherwise, and let's have a discussion. Today's video, I'm going to introduce you to one of the most classic cuisine over in Taiwan, which is beef noodle soup. It's hearty, really warm and rich broth with falling apart beef and homemade noodles. I'm going to show everything to you, making Taiwanese beef noodle soup in your home kitchen from scratch. And before we get into the recipe, let's hear a word from our sponsor. No, I'm just kidding, there's no sponsor. I'm a tiny channel and every support that you can provide will really help, whether it's liking, sharing the video, or subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Alright, let's get into the recipe. To make beef noodle soup, we need some form of beef, obviously. I got some really cheap ossobuco the other day. This is $1.70 for about 700 grams. Absolute bargain. I know bargains don't come around every day, so for more of a standard cut, I recommend cuts like oyster blades or chuck roasts that has got lots of tissues for slow cooking and affordability. Next, we need some carrots and onions to add layers of sweetness to the broth. A tin of tomatoes. Aromatic wise, some fresh ginger, star anise, couple of bay leaves, and some fennel seeds. Last but not the least, some soy sauce. That is all we need. Most of these should be pretty standard grocery items at home. Spices are good to have, but not essential. Cook with what you have and don't buy ingredients for just one recipe and never use them again. To start with, we're going to deal with our meat component first. Always make sure to work with a sharp knife for your own safety. Dull knives tend to slip and cause more accidents than sharp ones. Cut open the vacuum seal bag. Before we pull the meat out, we want to get a piece of kitchen towel to pat the meat dry in order to get some nice browning happening. It has almost become second nature for most people to be using paper towels in the kitchen. But the underlying waste and cost associated is really not necessary when you really be thinking about it. Here, we're just drying off the liquid off our ossobuco before searing and cooking the crap out of it. A reusable cotton towel like this takes a few seconds to wash off. It's a much more sustainable option than single-use paper towels. Pat dry both sides of the meat, and before we move forward, give the kitchen towel a quick rinse. And it's that easy, we single-handedly save a couple of pennies and a couple of trees just like that. Next step, I'm removing the meat from the bone. If you're using a chuck roast, oyster blade, or any other slow cook cuts, there shouldn't be any bones, so feel free to skip this part. Once the meat is off the bone, I put the bone aside for now and cut the meat into 3 cm by 3 cm chunks. We're going to be cooking the meat until it's tender and falling apart with this recipe, so be generous with the sizes of the meat. If the chunks are too small, they can easily disintegrate, and I'll tell you, you're not going to see any of these at the end of the cooking. Once the meat is all cut up here, it's time to give cooking a head start and pick our choice of weapon. I'm going to be using a pressure cooker today, mainly for the benefit of saving on time and cost on gas. One of these cost me $80 from IKEA from years ago and has well paid for itself times and times over. If you don't have a pressure cooker, the second best is a heavy base pan like a cast iron pan. The mass of the steel material holds heat super well and somehow just translates to super delicious food. Alright, we'll put the cast iron pan away and bring the pressure cooker over to the stove. Pan on medium to low heat. Drizzle of neutral oil, and we throw in our cut up meat pieces. Leave them in there for a few minutes and turn the pieces over once the bottom side start to brown like this. The pat drying from earlier makes sure that we get a good searing on the outside of the meat and just adds so much flavor overall. Once we pick up some color on the meat, we can get them out of the pot and move on to the next thing. Back to the chopping board, we're going to cut up the rest of the ingredients. Grab 1 to 2 onions and cut them in half. Deskin with our knife, and then we want to cut the onions up to about the same size as the meat pieces. Next, some carrots. Cut the thick side of the tip off. and then just some rough chopping. Again, we want to keep it chunky so they don't just disintegrate after some serious cooking. Put them all in the same bowl for now, and we want to sort out some business with our aromatics. Gingers grow underground, so more or less there might be some dirt stuck on them, so general hygiene wise, give it a good rinse to get rid of them. It is very common in Western culinary culture to peel ginger skin, but not really so much where I grew up. Unless it's for presentation purposes, I don't really see too much of a point doing so since everything is edible. Slice our ginger into 2 to 3 millimeter slices. Here, I added about 25 grams of ginger for 700 grams of meat. And that is all of the veggies we need to cut today. We'll move over to the stove and start cooking. In the same pot we cooked our beef in, adding the ginger slices to fry off a bit to enhance the oil-based flavor compound. At the same time, add in 2 star anise, a pinch of fennel seeds, and a couple of bay leaves. Like I said earlier, these are optional and just cook with what you have at home is totally fine. Fry our aromatics off for a minute or so, and now add in our chopped up onions. Stir in the chopped up onions and cook until it takes on some of the golden brown color and start to caramelize. Next, we add in the beef we browned off earlier alongside with some beautiful bone marrow that came with ossobuco. And then our carrots as well. Stir it all in for a hot minute. Next minute, we want to add in our tin tomato. Nothing too complicated about it, but just thought I would show you some nice b-rolls of me opening up the tin and pouring it in as such. Oh, that's right. Make sure you give the tin a good rinse and not leave anything behind. Not wasting is one of the most fundamental respect one can pay to anyone involved in the food making process. Next, a dash of soy sauce, about 50 grams for color, pinch of salt, and then some white pepper for some spicy kicks. That's always needed to go into the pot. Now we want to top our pot with some water, just enough to submerge all of the ingredients in the liquid. Lock in the lid, set the pressure profile to high, and then turn the heat on until the indicator valve pops up, suggesting now the pot is building up steam. We keep a close eye on the pot until the pressure valve is intensely releasing steam. That's a valve saying it's reaching the limit and we should turn the heat down until it reaches some kind of equilibrium. An equilibrium where we should only be hearing a gentle hiss from the pot. And now we'll cook it for an hour. While the beef is cooking, we can get started with our noodles. My noodle recipe is super simple. Just follow a water to flour 1:2 ratio. For one portion, I pour in 50 grams of water, 2 grams of salt to make our noodle chewier. Give it a stir to dissolve the salt a wee bit, and then 100 grams of good old plain flour. Grab the chopsticks we used earlier to start mixing flour and water together. You can also use your hands since this 50% hydration dough is fairly dry and shouldn't be sticky or anything. I find it easier to stir it up until it's mostly combined and then get my hands in for minimum messiness. Knead it until a rough dough is formed. Don't expect a super smooth dough at this stage as water and flour have just met and they need a little bit of time to get to know each other. Now we'll let it rest for 20 minutes. 20 minutes is up and we'll start to knead the dough a little bit more seriously. Wipe clean the bowl with the dough so nothing is left to dry out. Continue to knead the dough to start building out some gluten strength. That's what will make our noodles chewy. Knead for about 2 minutes. Now we cover the dough with the bowl we used earlier to let the dough relax and chill out. After another 20 minutes, the dough is ready to be rolled out. Dust it with some flour and now grab a rolling pin to start rolling out the dough. Do an outwards motion and apply some body weight on the dough for easier working posture. Make sure to dust the dough throughout so it doesn't stick to the rolling pin. Work it until reaching your desired thickness. I made mine at around 2 to 3 mm thick for a more bitey kind of texture. Fold the flattened dough in and cut the noodles into whatever width you like. Once all cut up, grab one end of the noodle and kinda just flick it open to unfold the noodles. Lastly, dust the noodle with some additional flour so they don't stick. And just like that, we made some handmade noodles that is going to taste 100 times better than any store-bought ones. By the time the noodles are done, the soup is about ready too. Look at that gorgeous color. All of the flavor has harmonized into the soup. The beef is super tender and carrot falling apart like your uncle's midlife crisis. Pausing here for a second, one thing I forgot to film here is I did add in some more water to the pot to bulk up the soup, as I kept the liquid to minimum just for cooking efficiency. As I added more liquid, I did add in more salt to taste to make sure that the flavor is balanced. Cook up the noodles we just made. Fresh noodles like this take about a couple minutes to cook, much faster than dried noodles. Dishing up, we get the noodles in, soup in. Just check out the shine with the soup broth here. Don't forget to get some of those tender chunks of meat in. Normally, I would add in some bok choy or something in, but the current veggie prices are a little bit ridiculous, so I substituted with some sauerkraut I made earlier in the month. It's not an odd combination at all, as pickled scallion is a super common add-on for beef noodle soup back home. The cost breakdown is as below. 700 grams of ossobuco costing me $1.70. If you were to be using some chuck roast, that would be $16 a kilo, which is $11.20. 2 onions is about 30 cents. 2 carrots is about 20 cents. 1 tin of tomato is 80 cents. I got the ginger for free from a colleague, but if you were to be buying from the shop, that would be 20 grams at $20 a kilo equals to 50 cents. 50 grams of soy sauce at $3.40 a kilo equals to 17 cents. All of the herbs and spices, let's say 50 cents. 1 serve of homemade noodles with 100 grams of flour at $1.10 a kilo equals to 11 cents. Altogether, the pot of beef noodle soup costing me $3.67, and that is for about 6 servings. 1 serve of noodle soup works out to be about 72 cents. If I didn't get the deals and free ginger, 1 serve of beef noodle soup still works out to be $2.38, which is about 6 to 8 times cheaper compared to what you'll be paying eating out. Alright, and there we have it. That is our Taiwanese beef noodle soup done. I'm so excited about this one. It's perfect for winter. It's warm, it's hearty, it's super fragrant, and it's one of the ultimate comfort food in my opinion, and we made everything from scratch over here. I'm going to dig in. Gotta have a taste of the beef as well. The onion and carrot brings us so much sweetness, and ginger and beef combination, such a classic. And oh, I forgot, I normally do put in some fresh greens like bok choy to give it that freshness, but at the moment with the prices of fresh veggies these days, we gotta be sensible. So one of the alternatives are pickled scallion or pickled greens, and I've got some homemade sauerkraut which kind of fall more or less along the same line, so it's a perfect addition to a dish like this. It just gives it that extra acidity and extra refreshment as well. There is so much flavor. This is one of the absolute classic in Taiwan, the country. Yes, I say country, the country that I grew up in. It's everywhere, and every little shop, every little stall has got their own twist. But over here, this is my simplified version, but it packs all of the essentials, and I can promise you this does not disappoint. Alright, I'm going to get back to my dinner before it gets too cold. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed it and learned something. If you did, give the video a like and consider subscribing. I have a new video coming out every 2 weeks. Thank you so much, and I will see you in the next episode.